Hey, Bridge family. This is Jordan and Emily Davidson, and we're here to talk to you guys a little bit about our relationship. We met here at the Bridge, I guess 6-7 years ago now, at bowling alley. We went to young adult, youth, that type of thing, bowling alley event. Met there, and I just started coming to this church, and was here for school. You know, I'd grown up in church, been around that my whole life. Real comfortable in that environment, and met Emily. And of course, when I originally met you, of course, they were joking around and said that you were like 14, and I believe them because you looked like you are still about 14, you look young. But we met there, and she wouldn't say 2 words to me, and we got involved with some families in the church and started spending a lot of time together, and still wouldn't say 2 words to me. And we dated from September beyond that, but from probably February to September, however long that is, 7-8 months, we just began to talk and kind of hit it off. Didn't say too much. We come to church and she wouldn't even hug me. It was one of those side hugs, that kind of thing. But we would meet and talk. We spent a lot of time in the parking lots, talking out here, wherever, at restaurants, and we would talk 2 or 3 hours in the parking lot. We wouldn't talk on the phone. Wouldn't text each other a whole lot, but we would talk. And I think it was 6 months. And at the 6-month mark, she realized that I was taller than her, because that was the first time that we stood close enough to each other for her to realize that. But, that's how we met, and that's the environment that we met in, which is kind of the abnormal there. But I remember when I met her, I was thinking, this girl's crazy. She was just goofy, but, she was beautiful, and I had no idea what would come out of that. I never would have expected that we would have been dating, and I never would have expected that we would have gotten married, or, that I would propose to her. That just, to look at how we met and how that started and what turned out of it, that was never inside of something that I would have guessed at all from the beginning. I never would have thought that. And it's because the things that I like and the things that I do, music, all those things, those are the complete opposite gifting of what she's got. She's got the gifts to complement that, but that's not what I was expected to do, and what I saw myself marrying one day, and God just took those expectations that I had and blew me away. And that goes to show you, and a little bit more of what we'll talk about is kind of what you expect, but then how God can surprise you, and that you may put a limitation on yourself that would keep you from getting what God wants for you, if you're not willing to trust Him and be patient with Him and give His plan a chance in your life. You remember, that's how I remember us meeting, in probably the first year, I guess, leading up to us dating. What's your side of that?
Yeah, I had seen Jordan, and of course thought he was handsome, but I'm a very shy person, and so I don't get out of my shell a lot. So it did take a while before we ever talked and got to know each other, but with some help from some friends, we got there. I'm thankful we did, but I hadn't ever really dated, and so I dated a few people, but not anything serious. I was waiting on God when He said, to be patient and wait on God's timing. That's what I had to do. I was in I was in a season of waiting for many years. We didn't get married until I was 29, and so I had a lot of time to wait and be patient, and I wasn't always the best at that. There were times when I would try to push God's hand on it, but I realized that that's wrong and wasn't working out. So I one day I wrote a list out. I was just praying, and I wrote a list of things that I want, qualities. The first half were qualities that I had to have. If God didn't have these qualities in this person, then they were out. And then the second was just a list of wants that I had. Didn't necessarily have to have them, but it would be nice if they were there. And when I met Jordan, the more I got to know him, he met every single thing on that list. There was not one bullet point on the list that he didn't meet. So that's how I knew at that point that God had set him aside for me. And I was thankful that I had waited for the right person because we complement each other. Like he said, I don't have the skills. I can't play an instrument. I can't sing. I don't do anything like that. But the things that I am good at, maybe he's not the greatest at. So we do complement each other well in that area. And that was God's timing for us.
Yeah, even just her telling that really proves how different we are, even though we get along so well. One of the things, she had a list. She was super organized ahead of time and had a list of exactly what she wanted. I mean, even if I had a list, like I said, it wouldn't have looked like Emily. And so it's a good thing that I'm not organized, because if I was, then I would have organized myself out of God's will for my life. But that was not my strong set. It was, I'm more spontaneous and I'm more just off the cuff. Don't have to be ready for things. Just a whole lot more flying by the seat of my pants than she does. And I guess, I have a life and a long legacy of proof to show for that. But she has this list, and she's so good at planning things, and she's so organized, and I'm not, and I'm so disorganized, and we're just opposite ends of the spectrum. And that really tries us sometimes, but that also complements. And God's able to use that. If we were both like me, God help everybody here. And if we were both like her, nobody would know that we were here. So it's one of those things where God is using the complement of those two gifts together to glorify His kingdom. And that's really how we met. And we don't fight a lot. We're probably a really, really weird couple. We're both so passive and easy to get along with. At least with each other, we're probably very difficult to get along with other people. But we just don't fight a lot. Our marriage hasn't had. I can't even count five. I couldn't count on one hand the number of fights that we've had, because it's not that many. God has given us such a peace in our marriage, and God has given us such a spirit of agreement with each other. And even when we disagree, it doesn't lead to a fight, because we put each other first. And that's one of the things that we made in our marriage vows, is that we would have a home where it was peaceful and that the angels of God could rest, and where it would be a place without confusion and without division. And we've seen that in our marriage, but part of that has to do with, I have our vows in a book and pray over those, and I have a list of things that I pray over every day, and those are things that I would not have had she not have rubbed off on me. So there are areas in my life where I've grown, in terms of a prayer life, or I'm not even going to talk about the list that I've got, but her habits and things have worn off on me, and my life has been better because of it. God's blessing for you is often the things that you didn't want and would never have received in a different package. But because I'm married to her, subconsciously the things that she does and her tendencies rub off on me. And it's been a lot to my benefit. And I've learned things from her. And, I've seen her come out of her shell a lot and be willing to do things and try things and have conversations with people and just kind of blossom, because I think part of my personality is rubbed off on her. And it's one of those things where whatever you unify with and unite yourself to, you'll become like that. And so you need to be careful of that and watch for that in your relationships. It goes even more to our friendships with people in the church that we spend a lot of time with, people outside of church, family, friends, those people that we introduce into our lives. We start looking like those people. And that's really been, we've been blessed to have people in our life that have added to us and not taken from us, and made our lives more valuable, and haven't taken away value. I think God has blessed us and used us to be a blessing in the lives of others. And hopes that He continues to do that and gives us a spirit of humility where we can do that and not be prideful in that type